of the people and parties in digital are guilty of over-promising. I think that there are people who are from Google or Microsoft who will go to a large advertiser and say, you don't have to do TV because people search on Google and Bing. That will automatically solve your problem because after all they're searching. And I think that that is a little bit untrue. You have to figure out how to do both of these things. There are people in web analytics who promise that you do 2 or 3 simple things and then it solves everything. So this idea that you can magically solve complex problems with just 1 or 2 things, that doesn't do justice to the hard work that is required to solve these hard problems. Don't try to look for or solutions. Should I do TV or Google? Should I do Google or Facebook? Should I do Twitter or email? Should I do billboards on the bus or should I do radio? It's not or, it's and. Today the world is so complicated that you have to do and. You have to do TV and Google and radio and content marketing and. It's a lot of hard work. And the fact that people don't appreciate it, sometimes I find that very irritating and annoying. I hope that they appreciate how hard the and problem is and that it is not an or game. Most marketers, many CEOs try to play the or game. They will say, no, tell me what I have to stop doing and what I can replace it. There's no replacement. We live in a world of and, we don't live in a world of or.
There's the opportunity to get lost in it. A company could put all of their efforts into getting universal analytics implemented across everything, and at the end of the year have some data but have done absolutely nothing with it, and I would call that drowning in data. They have data and it's not helping them, and that's a risk because what that means is the promise that data is useful and valuable isn't coming true for them.
We continue to just throw a lot of data out. We continue to try and focus more on the art of collecting data and reporting data and those kinds of things, and not so much on trying to figure out how to drive our business using data.
And all these new technologies and ways to collect data only make that worse, only make the risk that we get stuck there greater. And what we need to do as an industry is we need to move beyond implementation to not just analysis, but really to the insights and the influence and the action. We should be judged based on not how well do we implement a product and how awesome is the data set, but on how did the business change and grow based on the data that they got.
The biggest theme that came out of Superweek for me this week wasn't anything particularly new in that sense. It was just we're all perhaps it is new to see it becoming so high profile, the discussion of the fact that so many of the clients, the end users of these systems, really don't have a sensible, structured approach to working with the data at all. So the type of thing that several people have been talking about here, the sort of It's sort of high level in that it seems sort of theoretical. It's actually very, very practical, this idea of structuring the approach to working with this data so that you actually do get some kind of benefits out of it.
So it's really not about the data, it's really not about the tools, it's about the people, the human beings behind them, and how our abilities are to actually transform this data into actionable insights and communicate that.
Another kind of trend I've seen is that companies have invested a lot in better implementations, better tools like Google Analytics Premium, but I think most companies are still fairly immature in how they use the data within their organizations, and so there's a big opportunity there to improve their businesses by making use of the data.
That's the big struggle. That struggle's been here for years and years and years, and I don't think it's improved particularly, but I think, you know, it's still the same problem, getting people to actually use the data and do something with it rather than just look at pretty shiny toys and charts and things like that.
And there's something I see an awful lot, and it is the symptom of treating analytics as an afterthought. It's doing it as the very last thing as part of a project, where really ideally business owners who make an investment in a product, in a site, really should be thinking about how they're going to measure the return on that investment as part of the build and design process of the actual site. Giving thought up front to those questions really pretty much guarantees the quality of the results by the time the site is ready to roll out.
Please pay attention to data quality, because otherwise your data is just meaningless. 2 years ago, one of my very first talks here was data quality is a new conversion rate. It's not quite that obvious, but if you don't have the right data, you have no starting point.
The symptom that I see an awful lot of is the fact that the afterthought requires patching of a site, it requires remedial action, and that's risky, and that's expensive, and that takes a lot of time. And the time that is spent patching or retagging is time wasted that should actually be spent on analysis and understanding how the business is performing. So it's a lost opportunity.
Analytics is always advancing, and you can see that from the way that a lot of the tools are working, it's getting to be a little bit less technical and not as much focused on how do you properly do all the tagging and stuff. It's with things like Google Tag Manager, it's getting more focused on how do you actually turn into a killer analyst.
If more business owners, if more people in our industry promoted that kind of forethought with regards to measurement, then I'm not going to say my life would be a lot easier. It would certainly be more fun, and we'd get more time to focus on pure analysis.
The 10-90 rule, that if you have $100 to invest in making smart decisions on the internet, invest $10 in the tools and implementation, and invest $90 in the people who will extract the data, whether it is an external consultant who is doing it or an internal person who is doing it. So for me, the continued obsession with tools and the $10 and putting $95 there is the biggest threat.
It's still a learning process, but as things are developing, it's adding a lot more intelligence and segmentation and targeting to the products. So we spend a lot of time solidifying our approach to data, and now it's actually the time where we're taking it to the next level and started utilizing the data and saying, okay, how can we use this data in practice to actually improve business and not just gather a lot of data.
That's where probably the trouble starts in, because collecting all the data is not the end of the world, or it's not printing money, right? I mean, you got to be very near where the printing of money happens for the end customer. So the biggest challenge that I see is being able to tie up the economic value of analysis that can be either generated by progressive increase in the revenue or profit, or by reducing the risk that could happen.
Phil Pierce had touched on the subject with dark hat or black hat analytics, where people can actually inject data that you didn't expect, that don't belong to you, that are going to pollute and corrupt your data. There's also this craze about tag management as supposed to make your life easier. As I was putting out in my presentation, there are a few things that you need to be careful of, otherwise tag management is not going to be revolutionizing your analytics, it's going to ruin it.
I think we all have a common understanding now of what we want analytics to do, what we want it to be, and we all have a vision. We all understand what the power could be, but implementing analysis methodologies, using best practices, using design patterns, for instance, at an architectural level, that's the big challenge. So where traditionally we've all built systems using the database, the business layer, the presentation layer, now we're putting the measurement layer on top of that as well. The challenge of understanding that and doing that right and doing that in a cost-effective manner is a big challenge that we need to address.
But that is the real experience. One of the things that I witnessed again and again and heard several times, I was talking to lots of people at the conference, and they would talk about the type of data that we produce and how the numbers make the insights, completely obvious what needs to be done. And I was trying to explain to people that you can be in situations where that happens, and for a whole range of other reasons, the company will basically not do it. We're all sort of analytical people. We think the case is absolutely clear, which it is, for doing whatever it is. Surely they must see this argument. And then they effectively say, that's very nice, but no. And we're left thinking, why? And so you start thinking, they're mad, but they know the score, they know the details, they know the context within their organization of things that for reasons that we don't understand simply from our numbers, something that we're suggesting is simply not going to happen. It seems absurd, but that happens often.
I used to be really naive. I've really learned to turn around saying, okay, in the end, we might suggest these amazing KPIs, but if somebody in the higher up in our organization is attached to a bonus on a super lame metric like visits, because you might have visits going up, but your profit going down. But if people's bonuses are attached to it, there's really not much you can do about it. So I think it's about educating organizations and maturing it. So it's change management within organizations. And I think this is one of the biggest obstacles right now for succeeding with analytics.
The industry has a really big pressure right now to educate people and make them understand how data itself is not the solution. It's a starting point for the solution. And the ways we use data, we have buzzwords like big data and smart data and performance-driven and data-driven analytics, and all of those mean nothing if the people themselves don't go about and be the best possible analysts they can be.
Terms such as growth hacking, as data science, as big data, all of these terms are widely misused and abused to mean a variety of different words. I personally prefer plain English, short sentences with large font type, as I use on my website. There's no need to fluff it up and use these magical terms to describe something that is actually pretty straightforward and bread and butter. That's the way I'm talking, straight English.
As long as we focus on the terminology, we're losing touch with the actual substance behind it. I mean, big data, sure, as a term it has many problems. It's very restricting in a way. It doesn't possibly apply to just marketing because it's a BI term. It's been a BI term for a long time. So marketers are dissatisfied with it because they think that it doesn't tell enough about their business or what they do for a living. So they try to come up with a new and clever term. They blog about it. They hope that it goes viral. They hope that Avinash and Barack Obama quotes them in a press release.
President Obama did this speech the other day about the NSA. He said this big data is going to solve this big problem. They're like, what the hell are you talking about?
I'll choose my words carefully there, assuming we have a family audience. The basic problems that we face aren't big data, it's just getting quality data.
Big data is a buzzword that I find increasingly annoying because it is being used as an excuse, it is being used as to overpromise, and it has so far underdelivered. I mean, initially I was very delighted and happy about it, but then now I'm mostly irritated by it because the assumption is the mere fact that there is a lot of data will magically improve lives. It's so stupid. I tell people that the big imperative of big data is your capacity to find big action. Otherwise, it's just stupid data, terabytes of it that you don't know what the hell to do with. You did not know what to do with kilobytes of data, now you don't know what to do with terabytes of data, and now in the future you will not know what to do with zettabytes of data. I think that as we tilt the balance and realize the value of people, big data is small data without big brains. Big brains and the finding of big brains is the thing that worries me.
Big data at the end of the day is just a lot of small data put together. But for most companies, it's still getting the small data right.
And the really, really big problem with it is the real resource that isn't there is our people. You know, all our work depends on there being people to do these things, to make the changes. And in the UK market, these sites are still, even quite large sites, are being run by a tiny handful of people, tiny group of people, and all the services, including analytics, are all outsourced to other people. You know, all the search is done externally, so that the small team at the middle can somehow try and cope with running these things which are selling, you know, several £1 million worth of stuff every month. That would be quite common for a site that's turning over multiple millions per month to be run by 3 people, and the social will be done by an intern. You know, that's true. I mean, the social stuff, that is such a truism. That happens all the time.
For me, social media is a big buzzword, right? I think that it overpromises a ton. So social media as an advertising channel is hype. Social media is a panacea. You don't have to do TV, you don't have to do Google, you don't have to do Yahoo, because we have social media. It's stupid. The hype around its ability to magically deliver great results because you have a Facebook page or a Google Plus page or a Twitter page is idiotic unless you truly embrace the idea that you are there to have a relationship. And your job on Facebook is to make me happy, not you. You're not going to do anything. Tomorrow in my keynote, I will show the web page for Samsung in Hungary on Facebook. And I think the web page has 300,000 likes or 500,000 likes. And so they have a lot of likes. Now what does Samsung do on its Hungarian Facebook page? They post pictures of the latest phone, TV they have. They don't give a crap what you want. It's another advertising channel for them. So, how many people talk about Samsung yesterday when I take the screenshot? 1,800. 1,800 out of 500,000. What the hell is that? So at the same time, I go to my Facebook page. I don't have a personal page on Facebook. I have a brand Avinash page on Facebook because I have too many likes. So Facebook deleted my personal page. And they say you have to be a brand. So okay, I have a brand page. I have 16,000 likes. Remember, Samsung is 500,000. Yesterday, 3,800 people were talking about me. And so what is the problem, right? With 500,000 likes, they cannot even get 1,800 people to talk about them. Because all they do is do all this advertising on Facebook. All they do in every post is say, look at me, I am so great, I am Samsung. It's irritating me. And nobody wants to talk to them.
Everybody's sick and tired of the buzzwords right now, but still it's important to kind of understand a visitor as a human being. It kind of ties into this punch card award. We have to understand that even though we look at trends and aggregate data and cohorts, we have to understand that there's a motivation for everyone to perform in a certain way in an online environment. And if we can tap into this motivation, if we can do everything we can to kind of nurture it and make it grow within the population, then we've succeeded in our marketing.
The thing that I'm not sure that we will get to this heavenly situation in 2014, but that we will continue to accelerate, is I think that a lot of advertising online or offline is about shouting at people. It's about trying to figure out how to interrupt you, rather than trying to figure out how to influence you in a way that is most comfortable to you, how to have a relationship with you. I think that this trend will accelerate also in 2014, but there is way too much money being spent on stupid ways. And I don't think that that's going to change overnight. It's going to take some time. But I'm excited about the acceleration of conversational marketing away from shout marketing. Like I'm really excited that this shift will happen.
And then we take that data and we have to accept the fact that we're not satisfied with it. We have to, in order to survive in this business, there has to be a level of dissatisfaction. You can't get complacent with what you know. You have to kind of go forwards and onwards.
Trying to figure out how to optimize our media across offline channels like TV, newspaper, magazines, and the accelerated realization as to what they are good at and what they are not good at. That trend, I believe, will accelerate more massively in 2014.
It was a true honor to win the competition because the people who were against me were just incredible people and really, really smart things happening in the web analytics sphere. And I think that we've come to a point where innovation is something that we should nurture and not the tools. My solution was basically a very simple API call. I mean, I was amazed how simple it is, basically. I thought it would be much more difficult. But with the use of Universal Analytics and Google Tag Manager, the implementation is actually dead simple. And what it does basically is look for weather data at the location of the visit or the visitor, and it adds it as an annotation to the visit. So every visit has knowledge about what the weather was like at the time of the visit. And this can be used by travel agents, people with general interest, like how does, for example, if the weather is horrible, if there's rain or sleet or snow, everybody wants to go to the south. Everybody wants to book a plane and go to the south. So how many people actually act on it? Or how many people actually go to a travel website and look at free, cheap flights to the south? And if this data is in correlation, if we actually find a trend that this kind of weather has an effect on our visits, we can start doing predictive analysis. We can predict that, okay, the weather is going down in 2 days. We can expect that these people will come again and do certain things based on this weather data.
From where I'm coming from, this predictive analytics thing can actually change the course of the way analytics happens because it can actually help you dive deeper in the future. So I think with the advent of universal analytics, the impact that predictive analytics can make will grow higher and higher. And I think it's going towards where the economic value is going to be generated significantly more than what we see now. It also helps you relate to certain variables which associate with the end results. For example, you can associate the e-commerce product return based on the browsing behavior and the amount of time, certain pre-purchase behavior that user has displayed. So those are the things which were unheard of in our industry because we were primarily focused on segmentation, reports, and internal analytics, agencies, different dilemmas.
But overall, I'm very excited. I'm really genuinely excited about the possibilities we have with digital. To truly find people at the right time, to reach them with the right message at that right time, and to delight them, and in exchange, make some money. But I'm really, really excited. I don't think that I worry as much about what the challenges will be as much as I am excited to take advantage of what we have. In the near term, we have a problem with proliferation of devices. How do we track the same person across multiple devices? How do we reach the person across multiple devices? Because in the past, a marketer or an advertiser can only reach me when I read the paper in the morning, or I watch TV in the evening, or maybe I'm walking to work and I see the ad on the side of a bus. Those are the main times you can reach me. But today, I am consuming content all day long. I'm consuming content at work, I'm consuming content while going to work and coming from work and in the evening and lying on the bed. A massive amount of the e-commerce in the United Kingdom happens after 10 o'clock in the night. After 10 o'clock in the night on this thing. And so it poses a challenge because today our tools are reliant on weak technologies like cookies. It poses a challenge because we have certain rules and regulations around privacy. And we need to rethink all of these challenges to figure out how do we improve marketing to reach people across whenever they are ready to be influenced. And we have to respect their choice in relation to privacy as we do that. That I believe poses a challenge to us.
The balance between privacy and ethical data collection versus the power of data collection that we now have is something that we're going to have to work out.
The Nordic region has this very strong approach, which also limits us in what we can gather compared to a lot of other countries. So it's kind of a competitive disadvantage that we cannot delve into the data on the same level as other countries.
When it comes to AdWords, I know Denmark has been grouped together with Norway and Sweden, so actually we are now able to get beta versions of the new product launches faster than before. So that's a positive thing for Denmark. At this conference I've talked to a lot of people from different countries. I'm actually surprised that we in Denmark has access to stuff like product listing ads, which they don't have in many countries here.
On one hand, marketers and companies that are interested in selling products and services are able to collect so much more information about people. They know what they're doing on their phone, on their tablet, perhaps even in stores, and that data collection raises some concerns with regards to privacy.
It matters. It only requires we could be quite close to a tipping point where you actually get public sentiment kicking in against it. I'm not particularly concerned or troubled by the legislative aspects of it. They're serious anyway, they exist. But what could change the public's perception of things, something that tips that over, that could be very, very harmful, because as soon as that happens, I know that the companies I work for, it'll be just get all that code out of there. We have to be transparent, we have to be clean. They will throw analytics and all that type of good stuff away at the drop of a hat if they think it actually jeopardizes their revenue and their brand reputation. So, or indeed their share prices. I work with some public listed companies who are very, very concerned about things, their public reputation, purely in terms of its impact on their share.
People will need to find ways to connect with data in a way that is not, let's say, contrary to privacy.
Everybody's looking currently at the European Union, and they're discussing the personal data protection regulation under the Greek presidency now, and we hope that it will be active in 2016. It has a couple of consequences, but what is clear is that privacy is not going to go away.
Some of the moves and things coming from the EU that will most likely end up being something closer to the Danish model than to the rest of the world. So we're kind of preparing for the future.
I think that privacy and legislation is much less of a risk or impact. Like, we're living within a world where there's some constraints, and I think that debate will continue to go on. I don't think that's really a risk. It just is a matter of how we go about doing analysis in ways that are compliant and right and good for our customers and ethical and all that.
Clearly it's a complicated issue, but there are ways of working, and as long as we have a conversation about it, I think all parties around the table can find solutions to continue to allow our analytics industry to flourish. So part of my presentation here was also to make digital analysts aware of, there's a lot of things we can do but we also have to start asking the right questions in order to not only avoid fines and penalties, but also to avoid that we lose customer trust and fall into brand erosion problems. So I think 2014 will be the year to go beyond the cookie discussion and to start thinking about what is the data we're collecting. Is this secure? Do we need a bit more processes to make sure that we respect our customers?
At a slightly different level, the multi-device thing, of course, makes our life harder and harder and harder. But that's life. That's not a threat.
That will happen in 2014. The true appreciation of mobile as a way to do e-commerce, as a way to do content marketing, as a way to change the relationships that we have with our customers. Truly, to transform completely the relationship. This is the most exciting thing to me. No matter what you do, the power of mobile to change the relationship we have with your customer, to delight them in new and interesting way, to learn about them in new and interesting way. Oh, it's going to be so great.
It's been an really interesting year in the last 12 months, so 2013, with Google Analytics releasing Universal Analytics and the capabilities to do a much more robust measurement across websites, mobile apps, and other digitally connected things, from smartwatches to refrigerators and everything in between. The ability to send data to Google Analytics, have Google Analytics capture and process that data, and tie it back to a view of the customer is very powerful. And I think that in the past it's been a nice theory, and now it's actually possible to do it, and there's actually something to do it with.
Trying to get a full customer picture from digital activity that's online to the offline as well.
Analytics is going to evolve to be much less web-centric and more across all of the different ways that customers interact with companies. And that certainly has a lot of touch points on the web and web marketing, but it's not as narrow as it has been in the past. It's going to be much wider because of all these different things that we can measure.
I think we'll see a lot of growth in terms of user level analytics, customer analytics. I think that when Universal Analytics releases from their closed beta the user ID, that has a lot of promise for changing the way people are looking at user behavior across multiple devices. We're going to be coming out of beta. I think that people are going to be exposed in a broader way to the fact that they can do cross-device measurement. I think that other tools may even do it better during 2014 because it's a different type of user behavior. People have multiple devices, but it's one person.
So I think with the advent of Universal Analytics, the impact that predictive analytics can make will grow higher and higher.
This is a huge change for our industry. And the second thing is integrating that into our existing processes. And the better we become at doing that and automating as well. And I think in the end that will succeed or help the business in creating more profit.
At the moment, for a lot of companies, whether they make shampoo, or they provide milk, or they provide anything that we have access to, cars. I think at the moment, most of the time we think we are in the business of creating those products and then never talking to our customers or knowing what they're doing or how to engage with them. Mobile changes all this thing, everything. My friend drives the Tesla car in America. I have a Nissan Leaf, I'm poor. So, but he has a Tesla. And the center console of the Tesla is a giant iPad. It's not an iPad, but like a giant screen built into the Tesla. And it completely transformed what the car means to me and what I do with the car. It is insane how that gigantic touchscreen not only makes it easy for me to drive the car, but my relationship with the car, my understanding of what I do with the car and everything around it. I think these kinds of things will drive great innovation. At lunch today, we were talking about Slim Fast. It is a brand of drinks that you have to become thin, right? And at the moment, all SlimFast does is provide you the drink. But the interesting thing is, why doesn't SlimFast provide me the Fitbit app? So that it not only understands how much I exercise. So that SlimFast, the drink that is supposed to allow me to lose weight, understands if I'm getting fatter or thinner, what is my blood pressure. And using that, it custom sends to my mobile app my daily consumption of SlimFast. It auto-adjusts it. So rather than having a relationship with me at Lidl when I pick up the shake, it continues the relationship all day long.
One thing I love about this community and this whole week in Hungary has really cemented this understanding that I have. It's very much self-supporting, and there's a lot of sharing of knowledge. And where we identify practitioners who aren't employing best practice, it's not a smackdown, it's not a self-policing, it's a self-supporting marketplace, self-supporting industry, where we all see that exchanging ideas and exchanging thoughts and, oh, that's brilliant, oh, I never thought of that, I really wanted to do that. That sort of positive feedback is far more powerful and adds to the overall quality of the industry, which is a beautiful, virtuous cycle.
As long as I can continue to contribute in the way that I can, as well as long as other people are contributing, we're all going to be much better off with what we're doing, and we're going to have a much stronger community. And that's really going to be where we can experience the year of the analyst.
I had a great summit. I think we'd like to call it that now. Superweek is now in the big guys room, along with the other conferences out there in the world. So I'm really glad to see this conference gaining maturity, even bigger maturity than last year. It's great to see so many experts and brains from Europe and all over. I mean, having Avinash over was great, but it's also a great way to meet friends again, to exchange, to actually see people you only talk about or talk to on Twitter, Google+, and what have you, Facebook. It's great to see them in the flesh, to have an actual human interaction.
When you look at the year of the analyst, and then you at Superweek kicking it off by having Avinash, who's one of the strategic minds in the area, and telling us and encouraging us to look at how do we create a framework to show business value as opposed to worrying about tagging and worrying about these, the tactical pieces of it. That is setting the stage for this year, is our year to start doing that.
It's my first time here at Superweek, and I must say I'm blown away. The quality of speakers, the presentation material, it's been amazing. There's been so much knowledge sharing. And the thing is, one thing is what's actually happening in the actual keynotes. Another thing is actually what's happening outside the keynotes, because we're in this amazing hotel on the top of a mountain and people can't run away. So there's the social life here has been so good. And as an outcome of that social life, I've also seen a lot of people doing business here. This is not just about going to a conference, learning new stuff. It's about meeting new people, making new business relationships.
I think that Superweek has a potential, not even just a potential, really has shown itself to be an industry-leading conference. It's really exciting to be here with such a lineup of tremendous speakers, tremendous analysts, and I really see this conference as being a magnet for bringing top quality analysts, top quality industry leaders to Hungary once a year for a really advanced and unique conference in a very special and unique environment. Very relaxed, very conducive to offline conversations, people that are having.
This has been a really inspiring conference because all of the speakers, for example, have an agenda. They want to be better, they want to make the community better. If they just wanted to be better for them and their clients, they wouldn't come here and tell about these things. They would keep them close to the vest. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm looking really much forward to this year because I think that there are lots of little innovations bubbling under, and it's just a question of time when they're going to burst through. And just looking at how vibrant the community is right now and how wonderful the people were here and how intelligent they are, I think we're looking at a really, really good year.
A lot of times people call it the year of the analyst. I would say that's fairly accurate. I think that the analyst is going to get a lot of a lot of play and a lot of love in 2014.
We've had inspiration by large companies like the Unilever case, and we've been also had the ability to do the AMA with Avinash last night, and just seeing a room packed of people. I think there basically not room for any more people in there, and the atmosphere, it was really unique.
The quality of conversations had in the lobby with the other industry professionals. I see a lot of real growth of Superweek as just being one of the top conferences that everybody wants to be at.
The campfire last night was so cool, because we were standing here at the big fire drinking this really good warm wine. It's just being in an atmosphere where it was snowing and people were having fun, and it's so relaxing. And to be honest, this is where all the really good ideas come from. They come from the loose conversations of just relaxing, because when people relax, they tell the truth.